Wow. So I am really interested in this hire. Chris Oleary. All right. Somebody that, let's go back to his timeline. This is somebody that, by my accounts, this guy's like 32 years old, Chris Oleary. And this is a meteoric rise for an assistant coach in Chris Oleary, all right? So I'm going to read you his timeline. He's now going to be the new secondary coach, the new safeties coach for the Los Angeles Chargers of the NFL. He is very, very tight with Jesse Minter. And this young core, guys, this young core of Jim Harbaugh assistants, I mean, you look at the Harbaugh tree. I mean, Mike McDonald's now on that tree. I guess we have Martindale who's kind of on that tree, but now, you have Weaver who's going to be, I think, you have Weaver who's going to be a new defensive, coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, like one of the cornerbacks coaches from John Harbaugh's tree was, now going to be hired as a D coordinator. So the Jim and John Harbaugh, they really can develop coaches and young coaches. But anyway, and then Jesse Minter now has this connection. But this is one from the Marcus Freeman, Brian Kelly regime. So interesting enough, played at Indiana State, then was a Georgia State, graduate assistant for the defensive backs for both sides of Georgia State. Then Florida Tech, he was the safeties coach. Somehow in 2018 and 2019, we probably have to go back and look at that 2017 Florida Tech, because that's where the puzzle, that's where the rise, that's where the jump. Whoa. You're at Florida Tech. No disrespect to that, university. But Florida Tech to Notre Dame in 1 year as a defensive analyst, that means that somebody at Georgia State or somebody at Florida Tech's like Chris Oleary. Chris O'Leary's a stud. Chris Oleary is a guy that you have to pay attention to. So that's an exciting leap. All right, somebody Indiana State, okay, have to go to Georgia State, be a grad assistant at 23 years old. Now you're to Notre Dame. Now you're a defensive analyst at Notre Dame. And I guess you're an analyst, right? So then in 2018, he's an analyst, then a grad assistant for the Rovers, a position there which is like, hybrid linebacker safety. Then from 2021 on to 2023, he helped coach Kyle Hamilton and Xavier Watts. I mean, Xavier Watts' statistics this year, first-team All-American, the Bronco Nagurski Award, with leading the country with 7 interceptions, okay? Known to be Jesse Minter's guy. So this is a young hire. This is somebody that has had a meteoric rise. This is somebody that a lot of people in the industry, including the folks with Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman, that they saw something in this coach. Notre Dame has really successful coaches on their coaching staff. Their special teams coach happens to be very, very, elite. And now this Charger staff is going to be fascinating, just like Harbaugh's staff. Or just like John Harbaugh. So I'm really excited to see now, what's going to happen with, this Jim Harbaugh, Los Angeles Chargers, with Jesse Minter and now Chris Oleary. By the way, it wouldn't be good. Chris Oleary can one day maybe even be a head coach in this league. But you know what wouldn't be good is if Jesse Minter balls out and then he decides to leave Jim Harbaugh. But their defense, they have a lot of veteran pieces, a lot of guys, put it this way, Joey Bosa makes a good amount, Khalil Mack. These guys are older and they get injured. They don't have a ton of cap space. I mean, Derwin James, too, has trouble staying healthy, but he's really, really good. They have, top end, they're one of those that I would describe their roster as a top-loaded roster. on defense, meaning that, hey, the headliners are great, but below the surface, like, I guess they have Asante Samuel that, another, like, kind of headliner. But in terms of the interior of the defensive line, like, it's not good against the run. The linebacker play hasn't been very good for the Chargers. They've been getting shredded, okay, in several of these games, especially in the middle of that defense. That run defense has been very, very weak. So they need to assure, maybe through free agency in the draft, I think it's going to take at least 2 years, but in 2 or 3 years, if you have Minter and now Oleary, like, this thing could start humming in about 2 or 3 years. And you have Herbert. You have to get used to the amount of money that you're paying Justin Herbert. But it's a top-loaded roster right now, the Chargers. And they need a little bit of time building with youth. You need guys that are going to stay on the field, that are going to be those consistent producers. And you need to toughen up this defensive line and this linebacker core. And you need to focus on the interior, the middle of your defense, and stopping the run and playing nasty. I know you play out in LA. I know that you don't have a ton of fans that are going to these Charger games. I know that you're playing in this brand new fancy state-of-the-art stadium, and you have a quarterback that can throw it 65 yards, and we're going to play finesse and play a lot of offense. We're going to play these covered 3 shells, and we're going to play all these fancy defenses, on the back end, and we're going to confuse quarterbacks. But I don't see the let's stuff the run. I don't see the let's rip a two-tech. Let's rip the guard's face and go through and make a splash, play in the backfield. I don't see a lot of blitzing. I don't see a lot of like real hitting consistently. And that toughness is what Jim Harbaugh is going to bring. But now with Minter and Oleary, you add in the youth that he needed. I mean, Don Brown at Michigan, guys, that turned into a disaster late. And that is why Chris Oleary can really, really help this Chargers coaching staff. So this is turning into a very, very interesting coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the football. I mean, you have Greg Roman on offense, who's fine, more veterans, but really we're seeing, and I guess that the newer coaches are always going to maybe be more exciting, but now we're seeing some college coaches now. We're seeing college coaches infiltrate the NFL game, which as a college football fan, it warms my absolute heart to see that. So let's see, guys. Again, I like it. I'm really excited about this Chris Oleary hire.